Hey everybody, it's Big E. Welcome to Big E's YouTube channel. We're going to change it up a little bit today. Today we're working on the wife's car. She said there was a grinding noise coming from the front. So I figured it's probably the front brakes. So, yes Sadie, we see you. Okay, you done now? Okay. So, as I suspected, the front brake pads, I'm going to take you in here. I don't know if you can see here where my finger is. That looks pretty close. State inspection in Pennsylvania is 230 seconds if it's riveted and 130 seconds if it's a bonded lining. I'm pretty sure this is probably riveted. A lot of it is, or actually I'm wrong. It's probably bonded, but still, it's getting down there. And if you feel, I'm really worried. I'm trying to save the rotors, and they still feel somewhat smooth. So, to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and replace the brake pads. So as you can see, I already have the front wheel off on this as part of checking it. So now I'm going to change the camera here. So what you're going to need is a 17 millimeter wrench or socket. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take that off. I probably should have grabbed the ratchet, but I didn't. It's only two of them. They're located here and at the bottom. That's where they are. You know what? I'm going to go ahead, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to grab a ratchet and I'll be right back. Okay, it's Big E, I'm back. So, we went ahead, we got a ratchet with a 17 millimeter. And we got a straight screwdriver, so that way we could get these slider bolts out so we can remove the caliper. We're going to remove some of this stuff here so you guys can watch what's going on here. So, go ahead and see if this... Sometimes they're need a little persuasion. So that's one of them out. And then we're going to go ahead and take the bottom one out. Now, take notice, there are two different sizes here. So this is your bottom one, this is the top one. Just make note of that for when you go to put it back together. And this should come. It'll pry out. As you see, the pads are going to stay in the holder, but the actual caliper itself comes out. So, which point you can slide out or should be able to slide out the actual brake pads. Front one, oh, you know what, the back one is pretty bad shape. Now if you look on this pad, you see the line there that's put in when they make the pad, that's a wear bar. Look how it's disappearing, okay? It's shot. You see that in the middle? That's a wear indicator. It's completely level. So that tells me these brake pads were finished. So, next thing we're going to do now is go ahead. We're going to get our new brake pads here set up. So it's real simple, plug and play. You're going to go ahead. There's like a tinny type of sheet metal spring, it looks like, for these to go into. So you're just going to go ahead. We're going to slide those in. I'm going to bring the camera closer so you can watch here. So basically, you have where it slides into here, slides in the bottom, and you can see it slides here, and it slides in up here, and it slides together. Now, I have to get my compressor tools because the next thing we want to do, and we might need a 10 millimeter, we want to push those pistons back into the caliper, because now that the brake linings are new, they're thicker, your caliper won't fit on, so you have to compress the caliper so you can get that back on. So let me go ahead and grab my tool for that, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back here. So I went ahead and I used this. Here's a little tip for you. You don't need to buy an expensive caliper piston compressor. Get yourself a simple C-clamp. You use the old brake pad, and what you do is just crank this, and you just see we got the pistons back into the bores. So that way, by doing that, what we should be able to do is put the caliper back on. So now, let me get my gloves on. Yes, it's cold here today. We had snow flurries earlier, so I'm out here like an idiot trying to fix this. So, back to the program here. Let's get this off, I'll put this back on, the cover for the bleeder. I thought sometimes on GMs you need to open the bleeder because it doesn't let it reverse flow. So the only way you're going to get the piston in is if you open the bleeder. Luckily with this one, it's not a one-way flow, so we didn't have to open the bleeder, so we were able to collapse the pistons. So now, make sure you're pay attention here of what your brake hose is doing, that it's not kinked when you put it in. Watch your rubber boots too, where the slider bolts will be. Now, so we have this in place now. Now, what I like to do before I put the slider bolts back in, I like to take some anti-seize, and I like to put a little on here. Helps it slide, so that way the brakes work the way they should. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to hand tighten. Let me push this down a little bit for you guys. I don't know if you can, you're not going to see me here. Let me put this down. So we're going to hand start that before we put a wrench on it. So that feels like the thread's grabbed. So before we tighten that, we're going to go ahead, we're going to do the top one now. Same thing, put a little bit of that anti-seize on there. And the reason for the gloves, they serve two purposes. A, it's a little cool out, but B, anybody who's worked with anti-seize knows you can just use anti-seize and within 5 minutes you look like the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. The stuff gets everywhere. So the gloves also, I'd rather have it get on the gloves than on my skin. So we went ahead and we started that. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten these up. Must have been a little notch there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this top one in snug. I'm not going to tighten it yet, because I want to make sure that the bottom one is okay. So that seems pretty good. So now we're going to switch it back down to here. looks like that's cut. So now because that one is snug the way it is, I'm going to tighten up this bottom one all the way. I just want to move the camera here a little bit. Maybe you get a little... I don't like to use air tools on brakes because it's a lot of finesse and feeling what it's doing. So now we're going to go up here. We're going to finish tightening this up. Double check this. All right. Now, while you're here, check your brake hose. They are rubber, they're susceptible to wear. With temperature extremes and road salt, trace them with your finger. If anything, take your 2 fingers like this and put the hose like you're going to pinch it off and just run. And see, use your sense of feel if you feel any cracking, anything swollen. This actually feels pretty good. Those hoses are good. Now, that's how we do brake linings. Now, the only thing left to do, which I might do yet too, actually I'll wait, is now you're ready. As you see, that's the, here, let me turn it, see how this is loose? That's going to tighten up when you put the wheel on. The other thing that's going to tighten it up too is when you're done, because I have to do the other side yet, when you're done and you put the car back on the ground, when you start it up, do not put it in gear. Let it run for like 15, 30 seconds. Pump your brake, okay? Because now, as you can see, that's all loose because the caliper pistons, remember, we pushed them in so we could get the caliper on with the brand new brake pads. So that's all that play in there. So what you need to do is pump that brake so that piston works its way closer, and then it'll stop. And then when you get a good pedal, put the car in gear and take it for a test drive. The other thing I recommend, when you put the wheel on, don't go like this when you tighten it. I like Xing things, okay? Start with this one, and then put 3 on. Put this one, but don't make it tight. Make it snug. Make this one snug and make this one snug, because with an acorn lug nut, the wheels are machined to a cone. You want to make sure that the lug nut is centering that cone so you don't get any wheel vibration or wobble. Then when you get those 3, you have those snug, go back and tighten the 3. And then the last 2 you can put on full tight. And that'll help keep the wheel center. It'll help keep it hub-centric so you won't get any kind of weird, like you won't get any wheel tramp, you won't get any weird vibration. But yeah, pump the brake. Then after you get brake pedal and you drive it, I would say do some long, gradual stops. Don't go out there and do any like brake checks or hard braking right away. I would say if you can avoid it for the first like 50 miles. That way it gets heat cycled a few times and it helps the brake pads seat nicer. So, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start on the other side, but I'm basically going to be doing the same thing, so it's no use I keep showing you a video how to do that when it's the same tool, same sizes, same principle. And then I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this takes care of the wife's grinding issue she's having with the car. Seems like it should, because obviously when brakes get down there, they're going to make a noise. So anyway, I hope this helps. Again, this was an 07 Ford Edge, but you can apply a lot of these same principles to whatever vehicle your daily driver is to putting new brake pads on. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to the Pocono Area Corvette Club. Rich, good family, good bunch there. I still didn't get their info, but I'm going to give a shout out to them. We got some exciting projects coming up still. Like I said, we got to finish up the Shithawk. We're finishing up the rear suspension on that. That's going to be another video. And a lot of stuff coming up with Shop Truck. As you know, we got to rebuild the whole front end on there. We got to take the bed off and do some rust. We got to repaint some stuff. So a lot of stuff coming up this year on Big E's. So anyway, I hope this helps. Hope gives you some good information. Like and subscribe. Please subscribe. I would appreciate it. Drop anything in the comments, any ideas or any thoughts on that. I would appreciate it. Anyway, until next time, take care of each other. Watch out for each other. We'll see you next time right here on Big E's.